September 11th, 2001. A clear Tuesday morning in New York City turned into one of the darkest days in modern history. Nearly 3,000 people were killed in the deadliest terrorist attack ever carried out on American soil. But the legacy of that day goes far beyond the tragic loss of life. September 11th reshaped how nations wage war, how governments monitor their citizens, how people travel, and even how cultures view one another. In this video, we'll explore how 9/11 changed the world, from the rise of the war on terror to the reshaping of global politics, culture, and daily life. To truly understand the impact, we have to start before the towers fell. To grasp the shock of 9/11, we need to remember what the world was like before it. In the 1990s, the United States stood as the world's biggest superpower after the Cold War ended. The economy was booming, the internet age has begun, Americans felt secure, untouchable. But beneath the surface, new threats were growing. Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden, had already struck U.S. targets abroad. In 1998, American embassies in Kenya and Tanzania were bombed, killing over 200 people. In 2000, the USS Cole, a U.S. Navy destroyer, was attacked in Yemen. Inside the United States, security was relaxed by today's standards. Airports had minimal screening, no TSA, no body scanners, and friends could walk you right to the gate. Americans couldn't imagine a large-scale terrorist attack on their own soil. That illusion would end on September 11th. On the morning of September 11th, 4 passenger planes were hijacked by 19 Al-Qaeda operatives. At 8:46 a.m., Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:03 a.m., Flight 157 hit the South Tower, live on television. At 9:37, Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. And at 10:03, Flight 93 went down in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back, preventing an attack on Washington, D.C. All within 2 hours, the Twin Towers collapsed and the Pentagon was burning.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a difficult moment for America. I unfortunately will be going back to Washington after my remarks. Secretary Rod Page and Lieutenant Governor will take the podium and discuss education. I do want to thank the folks here at Booker Elementary School for their hospitality. Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand.
Stories from that morning still haunt the world. Brian Clark, a survivor from the South Tower, described how he helped lead others down the stairwells as smoke filled the air. Firefighters and police officers rushed upward, knowing they might never come back down. Nearly 3,000 people from over 90 nations died. Wall Street closed for days. Global aviation shut down as 4,500 planes were forced to land. The world watched in horror as America was attacked in real time. Almost immediately, global leaders condemned the attacks. Even rivals like Russia, China, and Iran offered condolences. NATO invoked Article 5, collective defense, for the first time in history. The world would never be the same. In the weeks that followed, President George W. Bush declared a war on terror. The first target, Afghanistan, where the Taliban sheltered Al-Qaeda. In October 2001, the US and allies invaded. The war's initial goal was clear: capture Osama bin Laden and dismantle Al-Qaeda. But as the years dragged on, it turned into America's longest war, lasting 2 decades and costing nearly $2 trillion.
You have declared a jihad against the United States. Can you tell us why?
The U.S. government has committed acts that are extremely unjust, hideous, and criminal through its support of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And we believe the U.S. is directly responsible for those killed in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq. Due to its subordination to the Jews, the arrogance of the United States regime has reached the point that they occupied Arabia, the holiest place of the Muslims, who are more than 1 billion people in the world today. For this and other acts of aggression and injustice, we have declared jihad against the U.S.
Is the jihad directed against the U.S. government or United States troops in Arabia? What about U.S. civilians in Arabia or the people of the United States?
We have focused our declaration of jihad on striking at the U.S. soldiers inside Arabia, the country of the two holy places, Mecca and Medina. In our religion, it is not permissible for any non-Muslim to stay in Arabia. Therefore, even though American civilians are not targeted in our plan, they must leave. We do not guarantee their safety.
By 2003, the focus shifted to Iraq. The Bush administration argued Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. Despite massive global protests, the largest since Vietnam, the US invaded. No such weapons were ever found.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign. More than 35 countries are giving crucial support, from the use of naval and air bases, to help with intelligence and logistics, to the deployment of combat units. Every nation in this coalition has chosen to bear the duty and share the honor of serving in our common defense. To all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces now in the Middle East, the peace of a troubled world and the hopes of an oppressed people now depend on you. That trust is well placed. The enemies you confront will come to know your skill and bravery. The people you liberate will witness the honorable and decent spirit of the American military. In this conflict, America faces an enemy who has no regard for conventions of war or rules of morality. Saddam Hussein has placed Iraqi troops and equipment in civilian areas, attempting to use innocent men, women, and children as shields for his own military.
The human cost was staggering. Over 900,000 deaths across the war on terror conflicts, millions displaced, and veterans suffering from PTSD and injuries. These wars reshaped the Middle East. They destabilized entire regions, fueling sectarian violence and contributing to the eventual rise of ISIS. For Americans, the war on terror defined a generation. For the world, it redrew political alliances and sowed divisions that still remain today. 9/11 also changed life at home in ways people still feel every day. Airports transformed overnight. Shoes off, liquids banned, body scanners, the TSA became a permanent part of travel. But it wasn't just airports. The US government passed the Patriot Act, expanding surveillance powers, phone calls, bank accounts, internet data. Suddenly, the government had new authority to monitor it all. Supporters argued it was necessary to prevent another attack. Critics warned it eroded privacy and civil liberties. Globally, other countries followed suit. The UK expanded MI5's powers. European nations introduced anti-terror laws. Border checks and immigration controls tightened. What many take for granted today, long security lines, constant surveillance, digital monitoring, all trace back to 9/11. In the days after the attacks, America came together. Candlelight vigils, flags on every porch, a rare sense of unity. But it also fueled fear. Hate crimes against Muslims spiked more than 1,600% in a single year. Entire communities were suddenly seen through a lens of suspicion. Culturally, 9/11 left deep marks. Movies like Spider-Man removed shots of the Twin Towers. Bruce Springsteen's The Rising became an anthem of mourning. TV shows and documentaries dedicated countless hours to exploring what happened and why. Even video games and literature absorbed the themes of terrorism, war, and security. And in classrooms, 9/11 became a cornerstone of modern history education. This event wasn't just a news story. It reshaped identity, memory, and culture for an entire generation. Internationally, 9/11 redrew the map of global politics. NATO's solidarity in 2001 gave way to divisions over Iraq and Afghanistan. Guantanamo Bay became a symbol of controversy, where detainees were held indefinitely, often without trial. The US faced criticism for torture and human rights abuses. Drone warfare became a central military strategy, changing how wars are fought. Trust in American leadership wavered, as wars dragged on with no clear victory. The Middle East was reshaped. The Arab Spring uprisings of 2011, the Syrian civil war, and the rise of ISIS all had roots in the instability unleashed after 9/11. Millions of refugees fled, sparking crisis across Europe and fueling political debates still raging today. Globally, the way nations see terrorism, security, and even America itself was permanently altered. The ripple effects continue to this day. More than 20 years later, the memory of 9/11 is still vivid. At Ground Zero, the 9/11 Memorial honors the names of every life lost. Each September, the tribute in light beams into the night sky as a reminder of resilience and remembrance. President Bush said it best in 2001. Time is passing, yet for the United States of America, there will be no forgetting September the 11th. From the way we travel to the wars still fought abroad, the laws that govern surveillance, the cultural memories we pass down, 9/11 continues to shape our world. This has been Every Country. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to join us as we continue to explore the events that shaped our past, our present, and our future.